Hello there, creatures, and welcome to another episode of Encounter This. I am your host, James, Nobody Likes Me Kid, and with me, as always, is Freeman, Everybody Hates Me, Iced-Tin, and he's feeling a little sad today, apparently. Did not read that nickname ahead of time. Today, my good buddy is going to be taking us through the Spawn of Kyuss from Volo's Guide to Monsters on page 192. Now, Freeman, we discussed this earlier, but I don't even think I've ever seen this page in Volo's before. And because I've had a very busy week, I have not done any of the required reading or research. Normally, I at least skim these documents. I am just opening it now.
We have required research?
I hope you're ready. Well, I normally just skim the documents before we start.
Sure. I've kind of given up on doing that. I remember doing it when we started, but I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going in blind.
Well, that's fair. I respect that. Yeah. I don't have that kind of confidence.
I mean, I follow along, and I do read ahead a little bit as we're going when we have the opportunity. But yeah,
I cannot read and listen to save my life.
Oh,
I can
no?
do just about anything else and listen, but I can't read and listen.
Oh, I mean, I can read. As you're describing the thing that I'm reading, I don't really have too much issue with that, I guess. But I mean, reading and listening in general, yeah, I agree. But yeah, anyway, attention spans aside. I also, I don't think I've ever seen this page in Volo's Guide. I mean, I'm sure I've seen it, but like, definitely never read this creature. I had no idea who it was, and it's worth mentioning that this is a Patron $10 tier request.
Excellent.
So this comes from Gabriel over from another podcast. It's a DM advice and community question podcast, essentially called Interparty Conflict. And we have a mutual listener, Peace Joy Pancakes, who basically put us in touch. Said, Gabe, you should listen to these guys, and you guys, you should listen to Gabe and his buddy Jeff. And so we got in contact, and I ended up actually guesting on one of their episodes, which should be out by the time this episode is dropped already. I don't know what the title's going to be. I think it's going to be episode like 241 or so for them. And sadly, they'll be finishing the show pretty soon. But they've been going.
Are you allowed to announce that?
I mean, they've announced it already, so.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure you're not breaking any news.
That's totally fair. Yeah. But I mean, I'm quite sure they have. But they've been going for like about 5 years or so, and they're going to end on a 250 episode milestone, which is really something. Really
Should
cool.
We all be so lucky.
Right, yeah. And they've done loads of giveaways on their show, and like I said, it's basically built almost completely around community-driven questions. So it's really cool stuff. I listened to a few of their episodes, and I've listened to snippets of other ones, and they've got some really cool insights and whatnot. So I highly recommend it. I'm sure it's just going to sit there on the airwaves for a while, and for everyone to check out. So definitely recommend, and obviously check out the one that I'm going to be on.
We'll have links to that and their feed in the show notes.
Heck
so you can go check out that specific episode or whatever episode you would like. Big thank you to Gabe and Jeff for sponsoring this episode.
Heck yeah. And they were very generous enough to subscribe to our Patreon and let me shamelessly self-promote and plug like nobody's business on the episode. It was awesome.
That's how marketing works.
Yeah, it was great. So but anyways,
we'll have to have them on to return the favor for sure.
Yes, I look forward to it. He did. Originally, Gabe had picked a different creature that was a bit like was going to turn into an accidental mini suite like Elithids did, and but we had an idea of maybe when he does have the time, perhaps in the new year, that he might guest host on our show and help us present said creature. But in the meantime, I asked him to choose another one for the filler, and he chose the Spawn of Kyuss. And
all right, Freeman, how does one spawn a Kyuss?
That's a very good question. It's worth mentioning that the pronunciation, that's really weird. He told me a different pronunciation that he had interpreted, but this pronunciation we're going with comes from Forgotten Realms Wiki, which is pretty standard for us at this point when it is available. But Kyuss is what we're going with. So yeah, let's get into it. And we're going to start by talking about who or what Kyuss is, since these are the spawn of said entity. Now, Kyuss was a high priest and necromancer that was in service to the demon lord Orcus, master of the undead.
The blood god.
So, yes, this creature is undead, and basically Kyuss was known as an elder evil, which were ancient entities with the power to rival demigods, but as far as I know, altogether mortal, or at least of origin. And he is also known as the worm that walks, and we'll get into that a little bit later. And he himself was prophesied to bring forth what was known as the Age of Worms, where undead would rise and destroy the world.
That might be the most metal age I've ever heard. Age of Worms.
The Age of
such
Worms.
a good name.
Yeah. And while he was in this position of high priesthood and necromancy, he would plunder and exhume corpses from necropolises and conduct horrific rites on them. And even after his supposed death, his mad disciples continue his work. Now, these spawns that he creates through these rites are meant to be expressions of Orcus' primary goal, which is to replace all life with undeath. And if left alone, these spawns will wander aimlessly, but should they stumble upon a living creature, they attack with the sole intent of creating more spawns. And if left unchecked, spawns can spread at an exponential rate. These are your zombie apocalypse.
Okay. I immediately was thinking tribbles, but I get it. Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
What's a tribble?
It's a little furry ball from Star Trek that just self-replicates.
Amazing. There is some self-replicating themes in this creature, but generally it's about the spread from host to host. So,
Gotcha.
From a distance, and of course in poor lighting conditions, these spawns appear as normal everyday zombies. You know, like the ones that like just walk down the street, right? The normal everyday ones.
Yep, the normal everyday zombies.
Right, complete with green worms crawling in and out of their orifices. Except that the worms in these spawns and these zombies aren't your normal everyday worms that you normally see, walking down the street. And when you get too close, said worm will leap from the spawn and burrow into your flesh. And once burrowed, it will penetrate your brain and kill you and reanimate your body. And
isn't there a tree that does that?
A tree that are you talking about just when like the chestnuts fall and smack you in the head when you're cycling without your helmet?
I think there's a tree that it's like seeds fall off, and then when like ants eat them, it possesses the ants and has them climb to the top of the tree, and then like flowers bloom from the ant's head.
Oh, that's gnarly. I don't know anything about that, but I want to. I want to know more. I know there are insects that like take over other insects' bodies and use them as like controlled zombies. They like inject them with some sort of like paralyzing fluid and then like tap into their brain, literally, like they like bite into it or something, and then they just like ride it around and use its body and like choose where it goes and what it does. It's really creepy.
Crazy. That is not great.
No, it's not. Are you uncomfortable? Are you itching yet?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
It is a fungus that does it.
Oh.
It is. Wait, maybe. Yeah. So there's zombie ants that are carpenter ants that have been infected by a specific parasitic fungus, Ophiocordycipes unilateralis. Let's move on very quickly.
Definitely the right pronunciation. 100%. Okay, moving on. Google it, listeners. You'll learn something.
It's in one of the planet Earths. That's how I know.
Oh, is it? Okay. It's been a while since I watched those. Right. Well, let's get back to it. The Spawn of Kyuss is born, and the zombie serves as a breeding ground once it's managed to reanimate your body, of course. And the breeding ground just is for more and more and more worms, of course. It just keeps reproducing. and it fills this body. And we have a couple direct quotes from Volo's guide. Normally, there's only the one, but we've got two here. We've got one from Elminster, which is, some worms are good eating, not these. That's it. And then we have
thanks, Elminster.
Yeah, thanks. And we also have one from Volo. Kyuss has a lot to answer for. Sometimes you eat the worm, and sometimes it eats you. Now, I know I don't live in a, high medieval fantasy world or anything, but I've never eaten a worm that I know of, so I don't know where Volo's coming from exactly. But all right, I get it.
Oh, I mean, I don't think I've ever eaten a worm, but they're supposedly like good, clean protein. If you ever absolutely need to eat bugs, like ants can be hit or miss for like parasites and stuff, but like apparently worms are, I think. Holy shit, there are a lot of caveats going into the sentence. I think worms are almost always a safe bet.
Right, okay. Fair enough. Except for those giant ones by Chernobyl, right? You're just going to be careful of those ones.
If you're lost near Chernobyl, you're fucked to begin with.
The worms is the least of your problems. Getting some protein is the least of your problems.
Isn't that still like a blocked off military site?
I'm sure it is. I'm very sure it is. So, as creepy as these worms and these spawns, these zombies are, that's not even the creepiest part, because what is probably more disturbing is that the soul of the victim of these worms remains trapped inside the body. It's not able to move to the afterlife after death, and is unable to be raised or resurrected unless the body is destroyed.
Interesting.
And the horror of the soul being imprisoned in an undead body causes the spawns to go insane. Now, this is a strange claim, I find, because, the spawn, as we'll come to read, is or the worms themselves are basically a hive mind that keeps the body animated. So the body itself doesn't have its mind anymore. So the hive mind and the soul, I guess, maybe the mind of the soul, or perhaps one or the other, or perhaps both, go insane. So we've got these worms that burrow into you, eat your brain, reanimate your body, trap your soul, and somehow it's all gone bonkers as well. And that is a terrifying zombie apocalypse, if you ask me. It's very, very terrifying. It makes me think fast zombies. They gotta be fast zombies. They're not the meandering ones.
I guess, yeah. I mean, there's a lot happening there. There's a lot of bad things. A lot of decisions have gone wrong in your life.
Yep.
It's hard for me to reconcile a soul going insane. I understand what they're getting at, but just as somebody who doesn't have like a working concept of what a soul is, it's a little difficult for me to get behind.
That's a bit more of my interpretation, though, because I did write it down here as the spawns go insane, but I had a hard time wrapping my head around that too, because of the hive mind aspect, which is not included in the 5e lore, because that's the end of our 5e lore here. It's pretty short and sweet. But it got me thinking because of some of the extra stuff that I found. And in particular, we're going to look at Dragon Magazine issue number 336, page 60. And there will be a little bit of information scattered in here from a book called The Elder Evils.
I wonder if it's like a Venom and Carnage thing. Like you've got two drivers in the same vessel, and that's why one of them goes insane. Like, maybe you die, but the soul is keeping the brain active of the body. But the hive mind wormy guys are the ones pulling the strings.
Well, one of the key things of these is that the brain is destroyed. It's the first thing that gets destroyed. It's not there. The hive mind acts as a replacement brain. So that's why I went, maybe the soul goes crazy. No idea. But Dragon Magazine had lots of these lovely sections called I don't know if they were called the ecology sections, but that's what I'm calling it. There was always the ecology of said creature, and we were lucky enough to have one for these guys, because these guys go right back to first edition, which I think is great. This is some true blue original D&D stuff. In fact, take a look at the artwork that I sent you. The first image is just Just looks like a couple zombies with worms in them. Pretty straightforward. Same with the next one, which is 3E artwork. It's a rather creepy zombie. Very emaciated.
Yeah, the 3E one's a little tough to stomach.
Yeah. 4E's also pretty horrible. It looks like something that's extremely fast and aggressive. It's the teeth on it are crazy.
Yeah.
And the 5E artwork is a depiction of is meant to be a depiction of 3 different spawns, essentially. One that's like kind of, hidden in the shade. It just looks like a figure. One that just looks like a carnival. You can kind of see the green in its eyes. And another one where worms are just spilling out of it, just from every bit. You can't even see its face, its chest. It's coming out of its legs and its feet. Like, there's just worms everywhere, which is just disgusting.
Yeah. So I grabbed the while you were describing the first image there, I grabbed our copy of the monster ecologies from Dragon Magazine, and Spawn of Kyuss is in the collected version, and there is just this banner image that is metal as hell.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so we do have a copy of that. It is we'll link to that as well.
Sweet.
The Dragon Magazine Monster Ecologies collected work.
Cool. So let's get into what Dragon Magazine had to say here, and the Elder Evils book. So it expands a bit more on Kyuss, makes him a little more interesting. In fact, he wasn't just a high priest and necromancer; he was actually the ruler of an empire before what is known in the world as, quote, modern civilization, and he was clearly extremely skilled at the creation of undead. And when he vanished into, quote, parts unknown, I'm going to do this a lot, he left behind his whole empire of the dead. And the worm that walks is something that seems to be its own entity, separate but connected to Kyuss, or perhaps more accurately, a transformation of Kyuss himself. So the general idea is that Kyuss was exiled by his contemporaries, probably for committing horrific acts, and he found some ruins of a dead civilization and decided to settle down and rule as a god king. So he had basically these priests and cultists and worshippers come through and then helped him conduct all these rituals and probably raise a whole bunch of undead. But eventually he ended up killing everybody, including all of his followers. And he conducted a massive ritual that had him ascend and fall from divinity in the same moment, and eternally bound him to the ruins as the worm that walks. And the worm that walks is a 30-foot tall giant composed entirely of a mass of worms and maggots and psychically imprinted with Kyuss' being. And I shared a picture of that with you as well.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
I loved everything right up until that last little bit there, but that image is awesome.
It's so cool. He's like a giant Oogie Boogie from The Nightmare Before Christmas, except all the worms are just spilling out. That's his arm. He's just like attacking this watchtower. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Do we have a stat block for that?
No, God no.
Okay.
This is the sort of thing you would probably just never encounter. It's just part of legend and history.
I mean, it is a stat block for Orcus. So.
That's fair, but that being said, here's probably a good reason. The spawns that were first discovered in the lore were by a group of adventurers that explored a piece of what's known as the Rift Canyon, which is in the Greyhawk setting. And
gotcha.
Yeah, and so we've got and this area eventually became known as the Wormcrawl Fissure, because of the amount of spawns inside, essentially. So it's believed to be Kyuss' original seat of power. And at the very least, it was just, discovered to be completely infested by these spawns. And not long after these spawns started appearing in other regions of the world, and especially in large urban areas, because cultists started worshipping him again and purposely spread the infestation, believing that Kyuss had not actually died, but ascended to some sort of godhood. And they believed it was their duty to spread the spawn in preparation for his imminent return and the coming apocalyptic age of worms.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, terrorists
in
trying to create undeath everywhere. Yeah.
And it looks like there's actually, at least in the Dragon Magazine article, there is stats to become like a cleric of Kyuss, it looks like.
Yeah, I've got notes on that, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I will shut my fucking mouth.
Yeah, James, shut your fucking mouth. Look, stop trying to read ahead like I did. Like, stop trying to show off.
We chef.
And then here's what I really love is the Dragon magazine goes into some nitty gritty stuff regarding the worms themselves. So the worms have a strict symbiotic relationship between the decaying body and themselves. And the worms voraciously gnaw and chew and feed on the decaying flesh, but the body regenerates just as fast. And so this symbiotic relationship makes it, pretty obvious why they're able to just sort of exist without having to feed on something or spread. So they can just sit in one spot and not spread everywhere and still survive. They just keep going in this cycle. And in theory, the host body's regeneration would dramatically increase should the worms be removed, but it has been proven that ultimately either will die or be destroyed without the other. So the worms will actually live a few minutes once removed, but the body will just not remain animated at all if the worms are removed. So it sort of implies that somehow the worms grant this regeneration.
Wow.
Although not explicitly explained. Here's a little tidbit I love. A worm placed in a potion of gentle repose will lie dormant indefinitely. Just little bits of detail, It's like the bark-eating horse. It's just... It's great. I love it. So someone just thought, oh, what if you put one in a potion of gentle repose? Someone thought of that, published it. I love it. And they actually included a picture.
Big shout out to James Jacobs.
Yeah, right. They actually put a picture of a potion with one of the worms in it. So that's in the doc here, and it will definitely be on the Instagram.
Good. Excellent.
If a worm, so people, of course, were testing these worms as they were found. If given contact with living flesh, the worm will, quote, enter a state of violent excitement. Its razor-sharp teeth are set in concentric circles inside its throat, so it then prolapses about half its length, and then twists and writhes with such ferocity that it can drill through flesh and bone alike with, again, quote, nauseating swiftness. The worm can feel the transmissions of pain sent by the brain and instinctively follows the nervous system to the brain. Feeding on the final thoughts and transmissions of horror and pain, the victim soon dies.
Wow.
So from there, the worm begins feeding and reproducing asexually at an unnaturally fast pace. And once the skull becomes too full of worms, they, of course, burst from the mouth and eyes, consuming flesh and organs throughout the body. This is where the hive mind comes in. As a hive mind that replaces the brain, the worms retain a corrupted fragment of the host's original intellect. Not memories, but intelligence. And it's just enough to give the spawn enough cunning to spread its infestation.
Yeah. I see what you mean now. Mm-hmm. There's not a whole lot there to go insane.
Right, yeah. So, little flip-floppy. The 5e claim of that is not really backed up by anything, and I couldn't really find any other information that supported it either. So, just trying to rack my brain around it and apologize for it, I guess. There were favored spawns of Kyuss, they were called. They're basically worms were sometimes gifted to devoted fanatics, and they could become very powerful versions of these spawns. And in Dragon Magazine, you'll probably want to read this. I've left it a few things here. There's actually a really cool story. I highly recommend people go to read it. We'll have it linked in our description, of course. And because there's lots of archived PDFs and stuff online, and it starts with this really cool retelling of the first discovery, and there was like a warrior who was known as like so and so the Reader, and he always recorded all of the events of his band of warriors, and it goes into this crazy detail of what he recorded last, and it's so creepy. So it's well worth a read. I thought about reading it, but I was like, it's just a bit too much. Everyone should go read that. It's really cool. And then these favorite Spawn of Kyuss that gives an actual breakdown, like a classic 3E breakdown of like how to make your own and add these things to the stat block. And they give an example, and it's a Mastiff spawn.
Awesome.
Yeah. And like they talk about how spawns they can be basically of any size. And any kind of like living creature, which we'll cover a little bit in the 5e stat block because oh boy, we get some issues there. But and alongside the massive example, like I said, yeah, they have instructions on how to create your own. And this is specifically not reflected in the 5e mechanics. It's very much 3e, and I think it's 3e, not 3.5, where all this came out. But yeah, it implies there are many types of varying power that could become spawns across the board.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. But that's your lore. That is your Spawn of Kyuss lore. How do you feel?
I did not realize how much I disliked the word prolapse until today. But,
right.
Above and beyond that, I feel pretty good. That's not a great word. I don't care for that.
It's a very very you got to take it with a very what's the word I'm looking for? Very sterile medical point of view in order for it to not feel dirty. But even then, it still feels a bit dirty.
Yeah, I don't care for the mouthfeel of it. It's
prolapse.
It's not one of my favorite words.
It's right up there with moist, isn't it?
Yeah. So I guess I feel good about it. It's an interesting take on undead that we haven't seen before. I like the fact that the undeath is spread by this physical living conduit. That's pretty interesting. Unless I missed something there.
No, the worms
I don't think
themselves.
The worms themselves are actually undead.
No, they are. The worms themselves are undead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which it's not in there, but I think it comes up in the stat block. But yeah,
gotcha.
If it doesn't, then that I can assure you that is the case. Yeah, the worms themselves are also undead.
Okay.
So
yeah, I mean it's a cool take. I think we don't often see some. I mean it's interesting to see undeath spread through a physical means,
right?
As opposed to like a bacterial,
right? Yeah,
infection. Like I guess it's normally a parasite or a bacterial infection these days in the movies, but this is like a visible manifestation of that.
Yeah.
It's neat. And
I think on occasion you might see in some pop culture where it's like somehow it's a curse that can be spread, not dissimilar to like
that's a different type of zombie.
So it's like not it's like somewhere like treading that line of lycanthropy and stuff, right? Where it's like it can be spread via your blood, but technically it's a curse, not an actual bacterial infection. That sort of thing,
right?
That's rather the infection
those
itself
zombies.
is curse, curse on the blood or something.
Yeah, we're not qualified to talk about that.
Certainly
stuff.
not, no. But imagine the zombie stat block. It would be so simple, but it would be such a hard episode to do. You know, it would just be so much there. Yeah, I agree. I think it's really neat.
I don't know how much there would be there. I think zombies are a more modern creation. I mean, undeath itself and The Walking Dead aren't.
Right.
But zombies themselves, the mindless undead.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. It would be difficult to separate the cultural lore between that and ghouls and ghasts because they're all very similar.
Yeah, totally. We've already covered whites, which is more or less in that category. Did we cover anything else that's similar to zombies? I don't think we have quite yet. We've done more incorporeal stuff, I think.
This is episode 62.
I thought you had them all memorized.
I barely remember what our first and second episode were.
I always remember those ones, but I don't remember what comes after them. It was Harpies and Yeti.
I don't know either.
But after that, I don't remember what we did. No,
I think Treants might be number 3.
Oh, Treants was definitely number 3, yeah, because that one went
anyway, just go look through the feed. Why are we even talking about this?
I don't know. You started it, I think.
Why are we talking? Okay. Yeah. Well, speaking of the undead, let's segue to the thing that will probably eventually kill me.
Beer. Jinx.
Big thank you to our unofficial unprompted and unrecognized sponsor, Strange Fellows, and their delicious, delicious Black Male Stout. This is my first beer in almost a week, and I'm really looking forward to it. I didn't think I was gonna be because I haven't been feeling great, but am I looking forward to this. Black
Male Stout is one of those beers. Even when you're like you're all stuffed up and or you're recovering from the flu or something like that, it just kind of makes you feel better. Just makes you feel better. It's like the best kind of cough syrup. But it doesn't taste anything like cough syrup, guys. I promise you that.
And yet alcohol will probably have me shambling into an early grave.
Yeah. Absolutely. I wonder if our listeners think we're alcoholics.
I mean, the liquor store where I buy them certainly does.
Me too. Great times.
Yeah.
Well,
some very, very questioning eyebrows in that
shop. Let's talk stat block. Ooh, that was a good rhyme. I didn't even mean to do that. What CR do you suspect for zombie apocalypse spreading machine?
Because it's the device through which the apocalypse is spread, I'm gonna say low. Since it's just a fiesta of worms, so I'm imagining it's just a swarm, I'm going to say even lower and aim for 2.
Prepare to be surprised in a way we are not often surprised. It is a CR5 creature.
Let's dig into it before I recognize that as its official CR. I don't feel like that's accurate.
Surely. Can do. They are speedy zombies. Speed of 30, I'll tell you that much. AC 10, so not terribly agile or evasive, I guess. They do have a 76 HP, which is not low. I mean, CR5, so it's not high, but generally medium creature, so that it just specifies medium because this whole stat block assumes a humanoid infestation, essentially. And they are, of course, undead, chaotic evil. They understand the languages they knew in life but cannot speak. And they have a couple of the usual, like, undead immunities and stuff. So immune to poison damage, immune to poison condition and exhaustion conditions. They have dark vision, very low passive perception of 8. They do have a boost to their wisdom saving throws, though. So they get a +1 for that. And the reason it's only +1 is because their static wisdom is a 7 with a -2. A reasonable boost there.
Come back to me on it, but I think I might take issue with that alignment.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair. They have a decent strength, so they have 16 strength with a +3. They get a +0 to Dex, +4 to Con, -3 to Intelligence, -2 to Wisdom, -4 to Charisma, which all more or less adds up to your average undead, I would say.
But we're not talking about your average undead.
Well, your average
undead with a hive
undead
mind,
body on the battlefield.
Which is why,
yeah,
yeah,
they are
I don't
not
care for that intelligence modifier though.
Well,
or the wisdom. Pick one.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's probably why they gave the boost to the saving throw at the very least. But these things are I think meant to be single-minded and erratic. They are certainly not thinking creatures. Don't mistake hive mind with intelligence by any stretch of the imagination, right? So their abilities. First ability, regeneration. They gain 10 HP at the start of their turn if at least 1 HP is remaining, and it isn't in sunlight or in a body of running water. Tropes that I really, really, really get annoyed by. If just I don't understand it. It's just leave it alone. It's a dumb part of historical lore. That doesn't make any sense. I
actually kind of like the running water.
I knew you would. I think we've discussed this before on mic or off. I'm not sure. What? I don't.
Well, I mean,
how
in
does
this
running
case
water stop you from regenerating?
Because if it's in a body of running water, so that water's running past it, pulling worms out of the corpse. So I like it.
Okay, I'll give you that one. There are definitely other creatures in 5e that have that weakness as well, but it has nothing to do with worms, and it's bullshit. Yeah. So I'll give you that one.
You're absolutely correct.
That was a much more logical approach. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't care for the sunlight. I don't understand that, but I'm sure that's probably just the curse of from Kyuss or whatever. But
to be honest,
the running water I get.
It's probably just Wizards' attempt to like make sure this thing is a CR5 and not higher. Because if you just remove those, it might be more powerful because there's fewer things stopping its regeneration. That's going to be one of the harder things about it.
Same as a troll.
Yeah, fair enough. And speaking of that, if the spawn takes acid, fire, or radiant damage, the regeneration does not function at the start of its next turn.
All right.
So
it's worse than a troll.
Yeah. And the spawn is only destroyed if it starts with 0 HP and does not regenerate at 0 HP as well. They worded that kind of funny to sound like the 1 HP remaining was a requirement, but then null and void in the latter half. But I think I interpreted it wrong at the get go. But yeah, if the regeneration is
so this thing doesn't actually die until its next turn,
right? It's got to hit. If it hits 0 HP, it's dead regardless. The regeneration doesn't mean anything. That's the weird part. It's got to have regeneration only works if it has 1 HP remaining and all these other caveats attached to it. Yeah. So
that's fine.
Not necessarily a hard kill, but it depending on the dice roll, it could just keep regenerating and giving you a real hard time. Its next ability is simply called Worms. So if the spawn is targeted by an effect that cures disease or removes curses, all of its infestation worms wither away, and it loses its burrowing worm action, which we'll cover in a moment.
All of the worms?
All of them. So cure disease or remove curse effect of any kind will just simply destroy this creature.
If you hit this thing with... Okay, that's wild.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right.
I mean, I don't know where those spells land on the old spell list, especially for clerics and whatnot, but I'm sure they're not super high. You might be at level 5 using one of your higher spell slots, but it's basically an insta-kill, which is pretty all right, I would say.
Yeah.
Also,
I think remove curse is pretty high, but I don't think remove disease is that high. I'll look it up. You keep going.
It's so attacks. It's got multi-attack, 2 claw attacks, and burrowing worm in one go. So +6 to hit, 1d6 +3 slashing, plus 2d6 necrotic. So it's hitting pretty hard. You're looking at 3d6 +3, assuming you're not resistant to any of these damages, plus the burrowing worm, which we'll cover right now. A worm launches from the spawn at 1 humanoid. I say humanoid that the spawn can see within 10 feet. DC 10 dexterity saving throw, or the worm attaches to the target's skin. Pretty low dex save DC for that. And while attached, the worm can be destroyed by normal means or scraped off with a standard action. The worm itself is a tiny undead and has an AC of 6, 1 HP, speed of 1 foot, probably the lowest speed we've seen so far. And every ability score is at a 2 with a -4. So individually, they ain't nothing. At the end of the target's next turn, the worm burrows under the skin, dealing 1 piercing damage. So, when it comes to your turn, you have the chance to just brush it off with a standard action if you like. And then at the end of each turn after that, it deals 2d6 necrotic per infestation. Sorry, per infesting worm. If the target reaches 0 HP while infested, the worms reanimate the corpse in 10 minutes. Burrowed worms are still affected by effects like cure disease and remove curses whilst on your person. So that can just instantly stop this happening as well. So you got an interesting order of operations there. Launches onto you, you get a dex save. Then if you fail it attaches to you, and then you can just simply anyone can just simply attack it by normal means, or you could just scrape it off. But if no one does that by the end of your next turn, it burrows, dealing 1 piercing damage, and then continues to do 2d6 until someone manages to cure disease or remove curse, pretty much. So once it's in, you're in trouble. It doesn't really specify if it can be attacked while it's under your skin, or if there's a particular method to pull it out. There's a lot of things to stop it from getting in. So I'd almost be on the side of once it's in, you're kind of screwed unless you can manage to keep healing 2d6 necrotic damage every 6 seconds until you get one of these cure disease or remove curse effects. But good luck with that.
Yeah, that's pretty aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So I just looked it up. So a cleric of 2nd level can cast Lesser Restoration, which essentially acts as remove disease, or a cleric of 3rd level can cast Lesser Restoration, which acts as cure disease, and a cleric of 5th level can cast remove curse.
Okay.
However, a 1st level paladin has access to Lay on Hands, where if you expend 5 HP from your pool, you can just neutralize one disease or poison.
Okay. Just because if you're going to run an undead campaign, paladins and clerics are going to be necessary. Pretty wild. That's cool. It's good to know.
Which would be the paladin's whole pool at level 1.
Right.
Still,
that's a good wide range of,
never mind.
of options. No?
The caveat on this feature has no effect on undead or constructs. Interesting. So maybe Lay on Hands wouldn't work.
No kidding. I wonder if it comes into effect at a higher level. Maybe it works. Maybe not.
Oh, probably. Yeah. But probably well after 3rd level for the cleric.
Yeah. What's interesting too here is that I can imagine a player arguing playing a paladin when they manage to get their immunity to disease. They might argue against these worms being able to burrow, but they themselves are not a disease per se. So bit of a gray area there. Yeah,
because they're not a disease; they're a parasite in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Even though
right.
Cure disease does it, but it's still. I would say no.
Mm. But you love killing characters.
I do. I really do. And I do see the argument. I think there's some validity there, but I think paladins are actually specifically not well suited to fight these creatures.
Mm. Might be interesting. Well, other than the fact that they're going to be able to deal things like radiant damage, although it doesn't have any weaknesses to that, it will stop regeneration and all that stuff. So they will definitely play their part.
Yeah. But not like a cleric which
right.
would just snuff it out of existence.
Like in one go. Yeah, pretty wild, eh?
Yeah.
So as you were saying earlier, Dragon Magazine did offer up the opportunity to create one of these creatures for a player, which is pretty cool. You could use the Create Undead spell to do it, but there were some caveats. You had to be an evil cleric, and you had to be at least 15th level. So you're not doing it right out of the gate. No way. And you must cast a spell over a grave of a killer who was buried without a coffin in unhallowed ground. Very specific. And you can replace the 250 gold Onyx Gem material component requirement. Again, this is 3E. With a preserved or living worm of one of these, if you happen to have one. Which, again, I love, because they had the Gentle Repose potion with a worm sitting in it. So, that could be of value to somebody for this particular ritual. And then once it's cast on the grave, it, quote, blooms with worms and maggots, and the Spawn of Kyuss is created.
I want to play an evil party so bad one day.
I know there's a classic evil campaign from Pathfinder First Edition that I think is pretty popular. I'd love to convert it or something.
That'd be fun for sure.
Yeah, and maybe Paizo will release one for 2E.
They will for sure.
Yeah. Now, there was a number of differences between the 3E mechanics and 5E in particular, but most of them lined up. I think the CR was more or less the same even. But there was one particular thing that stood out from 3E, and it's reflected in that story I talked about that warrior and his group finding them for the first time. And they have a fear aura. So just being in their presence was likely to make you terrified and flee.
Oh. Neat.
Mm. And here's something I really loved. I'm not going to go through it in full detail, but there was a chart in the Dragon Magazine. Again, I'll post this on Instagram. And it is a breakdown of DC levels for recalling knowledge on these creatures. So using religion, of course, to sort of understand more about them as you see them, and they basically just set levels at 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. Whatever one you happen to hit, you get that information, and everything below it. And I love that. I wish more things like that were included with actual stat blocks. and just to give a little more support to the DM, is something to quickly reference. And so like a DC 10, it just simply says some zombies are just plain harder to kill than others. You can tell the really tough ones by the worms that infested them. Their wounds close up as fast as you can hack them apart. That's some great info, and that's the lowest one. So the more you go in, the more is shown to you, like using spells for curses and diseases to get rid of them. That's like the 25 DC and so on and so forth. So I really love that sort of little concept, and I wish it was used more. It's a sort of thing you can build for yourself as well, but it does take a lot of work to sort of break it down in a balanced way so that it feels like the lower results, gives a hint, but it's not too much. And then the more important facts come through the higher you get.
Yeah, and it's much easier to just be like, all right, what do you want to know? Resistances, immunities,
right?
Like
yeah,
what?
And you can tag that on top,
so much
right?
Faster.
Like what you have
this
here
is really poetic and gives you information that you have to decipher.
Right? Yeah, it gives you like some lore attached to it, and then it gives you some stuff like you can use this spell, but it doesn't tell you it's immune to poison. It doesn't go out of his way to do that. And that's something that players could request, I want to know its immunities on top of this set information from this chart. That's how I would operate anyway. Just really give them more to work with in a really cool way. So I'm a big fan.
Okay, so like this, like the one you read is like the baseline for 10, but if they hit an 11 or a 12 or a 13 or a 14, you'll give them a piece of information.
Sure,
in addition to that.
Could do, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, why
like
not?
That.
Yeah, you can play with it. Why not? So yeah, that's pretty much the stat block. As far as homebrew goes, I didn't really say it, but I heavily implied it. Burrowing worm only attacks humanoids. Nope, not okay with that. Forget that. I'm going after the ranger's pet. You kidding? That's no bueno. Any living creature by the lore is including 5e, I think, but regardless. Any living creature with a brain and or nervous system following that lore is how I would roll this. And like, of course, you're looking at creating your own stat block if you need to for these other creatures. But, assuming it is the ranger's wolf pet, it wouldn't be too hard to just swap out a number of the functions on the stat block to make it legit. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. Not much to say on there, but it really bothers me that they specified humanoids in the stat block, and it's the burrowing worm. It's the worm itself. It's not the whole entities, not the animated corpse. It's the worm burrows into any humanoid nearby. And like, no, it's a living creature. That's what it should say. It should have had a little more to it, and that's what I would change and how I would run it.
Right. I would actually change the burrowing worm effect itself so that it only dealt 1d6 necrotic damage. But I would change it to, instead of one worm, it would be 1d4 worms.
Okay. Yeah, you'd have multiple spread out at the same time. But would you do 4 dex saves? How would you operate that dex save portion with multiple worms?
I'd probably do it tiered. So like if it's, if there's 4, 20 or higher.
Right.
Or, 15 or higher, all 4 of them don't make it in, or
right.
10 or lower, only 2 of them make it in, or what have you, depending on the roll.
Yeah. Okay. Yep, that's fair.
And I just have a little chart, little breakdown for me, like, if you roll a 10 or higher, only half of them make it in. Mm-hmm. Like, make the dex save pretty easy, but also you've got 2 fucking worms in you that are going to be doing 2d6 every turn. And at 5th level, players can handle that.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be too much of a big deal.
Yeah.
And I'd allowed them to try and cut them out, like in The Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I actually had thought about that. I thought it was a little bit lame that the claw and only a single worm. You're looking at that 5e artwork. There's no way only a single worm is going to leap. There's so many of them, right? So it could depend from spawn to spawn, but I definitely had thought about that as well. And I like that you went there. Like, if it's burrowing under your skin, you have until it hits your brain or something like that. However you want to play that. Once you get really low in health, it's now untraceable or something because it's more likely hit your brain. But yeah, being able to cut it out.
So its speed is
totally.
1 foot, so I'd probably give you 3 rounds before this thing hits your brain, maybe 2.
Yeah.
Probably, I mean, depends on who I'm playing with.
Yeah.
Like if I was playing real aggressive, it would be 2 rounds.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to be nicer and I don't want to kill my players, it would be 3 rounds. You know, 1 round it goes in, 2nd round it moves 1 feet, 3rd round it moves 1 feet, 4th at the beginning of the 4th round it hits your brain. Yeah, you can no longer cut it out. So
yeah, I also thought about that too. It's
something...
like just tier it in rounds instead of doing actual damage. But I mean, if you get clawed, and this thing jumps on you and manages to get in your skin, and you haven't really got much in the way of healing, you're not going to last much more than that anyway. Especially that 2d6 on top of that. Like that's just a lot of damage. You're going to get 3d6 plus 3 twice in a row, and then this, like, oof.
Yeah. So I think it's just more like it's, you know, it is what it is, but I just think the way with, you know, 1d4 worms, you have 3 rounds to cut it out, starting the round that they go in. I just think it's more thematic. I don't think it's any more dangerous.
Right.
Yeah. You know, the tiered deck save could be more dangerous, but like DC 10 is such a bullshit deck save.
It is so very low. Yeah. But I mean, I like actually really love your tiered deck save idea there, because like maybe roll a 1d4 to see how many jump, and then you do the tier, because like I get it, like you're just dodging one single tiny worm. It's probably not that hard, but when there's multiple, it should be harder. And I like that idea. I think it's a really good solid homebrew option.
If you roll a 3, it's 18 DC 18 to mix all 3, and then 10 only 1 attaches, and then it hits you, but it doesn't burrow until the next round, so you can still you still got a round to knock it off.
I'm happy with all that.
I don't think it's any more dangerous. I don't think it's any less dangerous. I just think it's more thematic. And then obviously decrease the necrotic inside, because 2d6 inside is so much.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Oh no! At the end of the target's next turn, burrows under the skin.
It's gotta get there. It takes a bit to get there.
Yeah. Okay, so I would start the necrotic damage immediately as soon as it burrows. So instead of at the end of the target's next turn, it would be the beginning of the target's next turn. So that's when, at the beginning of your turn, is when the worm would go in. And then you would start taking 1d6 necrotic, and you'd have 2 rounds to cut it out.
I mean,
I think that's
totally it. Yeah, I mean, all things aside from the humanoid part, I think the stat block is pretty all right as is. I don't really have many major issues with it, but I think those sort of side grade homebrew ideas you have there, I agree. They're a little more thematic. They work. They make a little more sense, and I think that's totally viable.
Like if you're using this creature, you're not just throwing this out there. This is just like you encounter one of these in a woods. Like you're building a set piece around this for some reason. I don't know why yet, but maybe it's an Orcus campaign, or you're going to the home of an evil necromancer, or a cleric of the death, or what have you. But there's a reason PCs are encountering this. I mean, I think by the very nature of their creature, there has to be a larger reason in the lore and in the world that you're putting it in. Just throwing it in doesn't make a whole lot of sense for it just to be like a random encounter. So I think if you're doing that, you're probably thinking about how it's connected to the world and that stuff anyway. So if you're doing that work, why not just make the creature more interesting?
Yeah.
And, like you said, mechanically, it's a side grade.
Right. Yeah. So, is it more or less work for you? That should be your deciding factor. Some people find that easier to work with versus the other one, right? So.
Yeah, and I should say, like, this creature is great as is. I don't think it's a CR5, but it's fine. I think it's probably closer to a CR3. This thing is going to get messed up.
Yeah. I mean, as always, comes down to your party build,
Yeah, and the dice rolls for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it does hit pretty hard.
It does hit hard.
I guess I should take that into effect. It does hit hard.
Like if you just scrap the burrowing worm, it hits hard. It's moving it. It's not shambling. It's a 30-foot movement speed, and it's pretty much guaranteed to attempt to hit you for 66 plus 6. That's it's nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, okay, so maybe it is a CR5 just because it hits that hard.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say anything else in the stat block. It's like that regeneration's such hot shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's a body made of worms. Like, of course you're gonna throw acid, fire, radiant
Right.
at it. Like,
it's so obvious.
kill it with fire might as well be the battle cry of Dungeons and Dragons.
I'm slightly disappointed they didn't include like a swarm of the worms in the stat block or variation or something like that. But I mean, the worms do rely on being able to feed on a host. So I guess a swarm that like slowly eats itself almost and has a limited time before it needs to find a new host. Something like that. But I'm not going to lose any sleep over the lack of that. That's for sure.
No, and I like it. I really do like the creature. I like the theming behind it.
It'd be an interesting.
If you want to go with like a really really trite, like niche cliche, big bad evil wizard, this would be a really cool like middling boss to kind of throw at the creatures, like 5th level. Yeah. Like this 2 of these, and then like a necromancer stat block from the monster manual. I think that would be like a really cool 5th level boss.
I think this would be a really interesting and slightly complicated encounter to do like a bunch of these in one on like the battlefield. Like put like 5 or 6 of these together at a higher level. It would be a lot to like keep track of like the worms and stuff, but then it would be more interesting. You probably wouldn't feel the need to do 1d4 worms at that point because you have so many of them working together at that point, and then it would be pretty dangerous. And of course, if you have a cleric, they probably have more spell slots to blow on, just like zapping them down in one hit, which would just probably make them feel extremely heroic. Even though if they're not doing that, the encounter is like especially if the group fights one of these and they feel how powerful it is, and then down the line they encounter a group of them, they're gonna feel how dangerous that is, and then they're gonna feel that the drama and they're gonna have the fear. But then if they start blasting them down with like remove curse in one go on a couple rounds in a row, they're gonna feel really good. Might be a good creature for that.
I hear you. I don't think it would be that much work to keep track of all that stuff. So like what I've been doing lately is I keep a whiteboard next to me, and I just write all the players' names on it, and I put them in quadrants. Yeah. And then for this, if I was rolling 1d4, I would just put a d4 in that quadrant. And then, if only 3 worms hit them, I would have the 3 facing up.
Right.
If only 2 worms hit them, I'd have the 2 facing up. And then I'd, have a d6 next to it, or whatever, a d2 or something like that.
Probably important to note that the whiteboard's not on your wall. It's
laying on the desk. Sorry, it's a little guy. It's an 8.5 by 11. Like, you could do it with the index cards, a sheet of paper or what have you, and just like set it on your desk next to you, and just have your players' names. And then like I keep track of a lot of when rounds and stuff tick down. Like, that's how I keep track of it, is with a d6 or a d4 or whatever.
Visual cues, man, they make a big difference.
Yeah, and you can, like, it's your home game. You're not doing it for anything, so you can take a minute or two while your players mill about or refresh their drinks or take a piss. Right. So you can count down all your dice depending on how many you have. Like, nobody's gonna give a shit.
I'm sorry. In Canada, we say rock a piss.
I've never said that in my life. Is that a Canadian thing?
I have no idea. I'm just being a shitbird.
There's your Canadian phrase of the day, listeners. Shitbird.
Shitbird. Love it.
I think that's it for me, though. You got anything else?
That's it for me. I'm pretty happy with this creature. It was fun. Thanks, Gabe.
Yeah, big thanks to those guys at Interparty Conflict again. Make sure you give them a listen and some love. Rate on iTunes. Maybe they'll come back after episode 250 when things settle down a little bit. If you guys show them enough love out there. If you would like to request a creature if you'd like to request a creature like Gabe and Jeff did, you can find us on patreon.com/encounterthis. And for $10 a month, you could request any creature from any system you like. It can be 5e, it can be Sailor Moon, it can be Warhammer 40k. We will do our best to figure it out and cover it. And if not, we will at least get hammered as all hell and have a good time doing it. If $10 is too rich for your blood, we totally get it. There's a $5 tier there where you will get a handwritten thank you letter and access to our show notes, the documents that we use to build and record these episodes from. And if even that's too much, for $1 a month, you can help buy us a cup of coffee, and you will have direct access to our private Discord, so you can see what's coming up, what's coming down the pipe. If you want to talk to us specifically, if you've got ideas, we are around almost any time, day or night. If you don't feel like giving us any money, and trust me, I totally get it, you can find us on Facebook or Twitter at EncounterPod or Instagram at encounter.pod. If you are a grammar, is what I think the kids are calling people who use Instagram, you should check it out. There's going to be some amazing art. There's all of the art for this stuff is very, very Iron Maiden. It's very high contrast, very Eddie. It's really, really cool. I'm really looking forward to getting to share that with you guys. And if you prefer the classics, you can always shoot us an email at info@encounterthis.ca. Freeman checks that email at least once a day, and he will direct me to it if it requires my attention. If you want to find any of the links to anything we talked about in this episode, the Dragon Magazine Monster Ecologies Collected Works, the Interparty Conflict episode feed, you can find all that and all of our older episodes archived over at encounterthis.ca.
And not to dissuade customers from the $1 tier, but to be fair, we both work in hospitality, so most of the coffee we drink, we don't actually pay for.
That's not true. I never drink work coffee.
Oh, your coffee sucks over there. Actually, my coffee sucks at that current place too. Never mind. We need coffee, guys. Help us out.
I bring a mug of coffee with me to work every morning.
Yeah, actually, I've been bringing my French press coffee to work too. So we're in dire straits over here. $1 a month.
The moral of this story is restaurants need to get better coffee.
Oh, seriously. Come on, guys.
All right. Thank you so much for listening, and we will be back again in 2 weeks with some other creature, and maybe you can encounter that.
I hate you.